And thank you everyone for joining the Workers Resource Center's presentation on understanding workers' compensation. We'll get started right now. So what is the Workers' Compensation Board, or WCB? WCB is a private insurance plan that employers can choose to pay into. This insurance protects employees if they get injured or sick due to a workplace incident. It is important to note that not every industry is required to provide WCB coverage to their employees. WCB is usually an optional insurance program. This means that companies can choose whether they want to provide WCB coverage or not. Some workplaces where injuries are more likely to occur, like construction, manufacturing, trucking, and many retail stores, will have mandatory WCB coverage. Places where injuries are less likely to occur will have optional WCB coverage. These are places like banks, museums, and animal grooming businesses. So how do you find out if your company has WCB coverage? The best way to find this information out is to contact WCB Alberta directly and ask them. You can also visit their website, and they will list all the types of companies that have mandatory coverage and the types of companies where there is voluntary coverage for WCB. Some employers might have this information in their policies and procedures manual or their employee handbook. This is important information to know, but please do not ask about WCB coverage during your interview. It could create an unnecessary red flag to your potential employer that you might want to take advantage of them or the WCB program. If your company does have workers' compensation coverage, all workers are covered instantly. That means there is no waiting period, and you will have coverage directly when you are hired. Full-time, part-time, casual, or temporary employees, all of them have immediate coverage. So, what type of injuries and illnesses will WCB cover? The most common covered categories are traumatic injuries. This can be things like broken bones or cuts. WCB can also cover injuries caused by repeated activities, like strains, sprains, or tendinitis from factory work. WCB will also cover occupational disease. An occupational disease is a health condition, illness, or disorder that is directly caused by exposures to hazards from work tasks or the actual work environment. Shown in this presentation is black lung disease for coal miners. Another example could be hearing loss from loud machinery. Finally, workers' compensation will also cover re-injury. An example of this could be you hurt your knee once at work, then you hurt it again at work. So getting injured again. On the flip side, there are some injuries and illnesses that are out of the scope of WCB. These include pre-existing conditions like diabetes or a sports-related industry. Purposeful injuries, so if you intentionally injure yourself, or if you ignore posted safety procedures, WCB will not cover your injury. And finally, WCB is workplace insurance. So if you get an injury while you are on your personal time, workers' compensation will not cover it. This includes car accident injuries, sports injuries, and anything that happens outside of the time when you are working. Let's talk about a scenario. Alex works as a mechanic. Alex drops a tool on his foot and immediately feels pain. What should he do next? The first step when you are injured or ill because of work is to tell your manager or supervisor immediately. This can be done in person, over the phone, or by texting or emailing them. If you tell them in person, it is the best practice to follow up with an email or a text message so you have that written proof that you took the first step in reporting to your employer. You want to tell your employer as soon as possible so they know that you are leaving work to get help with your injury or illness and you're not just abandoning your job. After being told of an incident that happens at work, your employer will have 72 hours to report that incident to WCB with their portion of the WCB report, which is called the employer report. After this, you need to seek medical treatment or advice as soon as possible. You can get this help at your own family doctor, a walk-in clinic, or the hospital. The sooner you see the doctor, the sooner they are going to be able to provide help. Receiving this help as soon as possible will also ensure that you have proof that your injury or illness happened as a result of your job tasks or your workplace. After seeing you, the doctor will then have 48 hours to fill out their portion of the WCB report called the doctor's report. Even if you are not sure if you have WCB coverage at your workplace, it is the best practice to ask your doctor to fill out the doctor's report just to be safe. After you report to your manager and you see a doctor, you need to contact WCB Alberta. You technically have 2 years from the date that your incident happened to file your portion of the report, called the worker's report. But the sooner you do this, the better. So our mechanic friend Alex goes to a walk-in clinic, and the nurse recommends he complete a WCB report. Alex isn't sure if he should report the workplace accident. What are some reasons he might be nervous to do so? There are lots of reasons people might feel nervous when they have to file a WCB report. Some people may not file because they don't know they can, or they don't know how to. Plus, it can be a difficult process, and there might be a language barrier, so that could create an obstacle as well. Some people might be afraid that their employer could fire them or punish them for filing a complaint with WCB. And some people might be very worried about the financial impact not working might cause to them. But there are 3 important reasons why you should file a WCB claim if you are injured or sick because of your job. First, for support. You may not work for the same employer forever, but you only have one body and you need to take care of it. The injury or sickness that you got from your job could follow you forever, which may impact your ability to make money in the future. Second, it is your right. If your employer tries to stop you from filing a claim with WCB, you can then file a human rights complaint to ensure you are fully protected. Lastly, you should file to ensure that you are compensated for any money that you could have earned but were unable to due to your illness or injury. Also, if you are hurt at work, it is not your responsibility to pay for the medical care that you receive. So these are the 3 primary reasons you should file a WCB claim if you are sick or injured because of work. Back to our scenario. Alex isn't sure if he should submit his WCB report right away or wait until his foot is healed. Like I said before, you do have 2 years after the date of your incident to file your WCB claim. However, doing it as soon as possible is the best option. This way, you will receive money sooner, and WCB can take care of the medical costs up front instead of needing to reimburse you later on. The Workers' Compensation Board of Alberta will also have any collaborative discussions that need to happen with your employer if they need to modify your job duties. Finally, filing faster means you will be referred to specialists and get any exams or treatments you may need more quickly. So what are the types of benefits that are available for people who are eligible for WCB? There are 6 main categories of benefits that we will discuss today. They include medical investigation, wage loss, medical care, assistance, hospitalization, and employment benefits. First up is medical investigation. Usually, WCB works pretty quickly to start paying workers if they get sick or are injured due to their jobs. But sometimes an investigation is needed to help WCB make a decision on a person's eligibility. This is because some people have taken advantage of the program with things like purposeful injuries. So sometimes WCB will have to investigate to make sure each claim is valid. During the time WCB is completed their investigation, they will typically pay you your benefits. This is especially true if you are opening a new claim, so you never had a workplace injury before, or if you get hurt again while you already have an old WCB claim, and this injury will probably mean you get more payments. There are 3 things that are required of people if they are going to receive payments from WCB while the medical investigation occurs. The first is that you are not receiving or eligible to receive benefits from another party. This means no one else is paying you while you wait for the medical investigation to be done by WCB. Number 2 is that it is more than likely that the case manager will accept entitlement following the medical investigation. This means that most or all of the evidence show that your claim will be accepted by the Workers' Compensation Board. And finally, you will experience financial hardship as a result in the delay of the decision. This means you will have a hard time during the investigation because you will have no income. The next type of WCB we will discuss is wage replacement. Wage replacement is exactly what it sounds like and is replacing money that you could have earned during the time you were not able to work due to your workplace injury or illness. On WCB, you can receive 90% of your taxable income, up to a maximum of $110,900. What this means is you can get paid 90% of your net or your take-home money, calculated after taxes and other deductions. Your employer is required to pay you for the entire day that your injury happened, and your wage replacements from WCB will start on the next working day after the incident. You should receive your first payment from WCB Alberta within about 14 days of them accepting your new claim. You will be paid for as long as medical evidence shows you are unable to return to work due to your injury or illness. Wage replacement benefits may include money you earned from a second job, meaning if you have a second job when you were injured and your injury prevents you from doing that second job, WCB Alberta will also consider that when they are setting your compensation rate so you do not miss out on any money you could have been making. Make sure you tell your case manager or your WRC caseworker about your second job. You may leave the province for a short time if your doctor can confirm that your trip will not delay your recovery. You are also able to move outside of Alberta, and your benefits will not change unless the move delays your recovery or return to work. It is important to keep in regular contact with WCB Alberta while you are receiving the benefits. Wage replacement benefits are not taxable. However, you have to report your WCB benefits to the CRA. WCB Alberta will send you a tax form called a T5007 by the end of February for your tax claim for the previous year. Long-term compensation benefits are protected from inflation. Every year, the Workers' Compensation Board will review long-term workers' benefits and determine if a cost of living increase should be applied. Right now, in 2026, in Alberta, injured or sick workers will receive a 1.64% cost of living allowance. Also, if your injury or illness you got while working is permanent or lifelong, like losing a body part or the use of a body part, or having a change or a disfigurement to any of your body parts, you may be entitled to a lump sum payment. This number varies on what you were earning while you were working, but it can be up to $110,000 for that lump sum payment if you are permanently injured or disfigured. Getting the right treatment at the right time is very important. WCB supports people by coordinating and paying for any medical treatment or services needed during recovery. This includes things like medication, hospital care, dental work, hearing aids, physical therapy, crutches and braces, wheelchairs, and other things. Most medical benefits will be covered up front, while others will have to be reimbursed to you. This means that you may need to pay for the services, and then you submit the receipts to WCB for them to pay you back. Talk to your healthcare provider about billing WCB directly if you are injured or sick because of a workplace incident. Depending on the severity of your injury, there might be additional medical benefits WCB can offer. Sometimes, if your injury is really bad, home or car modifications are required to make sure your life is accessible. WCB can cover the cost of these modifications. Some examples include major modifications, like installing a wheelchair ramp in your home, widening your door frames, installing a chairlift. Car modifications include things like adding hand pedals instead of foot, and WCB can even pay for someone to train you on how to drive your modified vehicle. If you need to travel outside of your city to receive medical care and rehabilitation services, WCB will pay for and coordinate your travel and accommodations. WCB will cover the cost of the shortest and cheapest route to your destination. This is usually by paying you a bus fare. But if there is no public transportation, you can get 58 cents per kilometer you drive. If approved by WCB, you can also get your meals and accommodations paid for if your trip requires that you are gone for more than 24 hours. If you need help after receiving your after receiving your medical treatment, WCB may also pay for a chaperone to accompany you. Finally, in special circumstances, WCB can also provide childcare to you while you receive your treatment. We do have a question. If I apply for WCB, but I am denied, and then I start having complications from my injury years later, can I reapply for coverage?
So the appeal period for WCB is 1 year. So unfortunately, within that appeal period, you would be out of that time frame. You can, however, reach out to a legal firm and see if they are able to assist with that.
If you get a serious injury or illness from work, and you're unable to complete your regular cleaning and household chores, and no one lives with you who can complete those chores, WCB can pay and coordinate to make sure these tasks get done. Some examples of the services WCB could provide include bathing assistance, food preparation, wound care, and general cleaning. WCB can even provide assistance for larger tasks outside the home, like lawn care or snow shoveling. If you are severely injured and suffer from permanent impairment and need help performing everyday tasks, WCB can coordinate help based on your needs. Some examples of the types of long-term support WCB can coordinate include banking assistance, bathing help, wound care, and food preparation. Like I talked about before, if your injury qualifies, WCB could be required to pay you a big lump sum based off of calculations on the money you could have earned if you were not injured. This lump sum payment is called an NELP, non-economic loss payment. WCB will also cover all of your hospital bills if you are injured or ill because of your job. This includes things like ambulance rides, a private room if you need it at the hospital, basic toiletries if the hospital is not near your home, television and phone rental if you're expected to be hospitalized for more than 7 days, and if your clothing is lost, damaged, or destroyed during the time of your injury, WCB will replace that clothing. They also have a spousal benefit, which allots money for your partner to stay nearby where you are being treated. The final benefit that WCB can provide are employment related. This happens in 2 ways. The first is return to work. For return to work benefits, WCB can help you by asking for your insight and opinion on what you think you will be able to do at work. They will then discuss and negotiate modified work options with your employer and you. Working while you recover keeps you connected to your workplace and has proven to reduce the length of time needed to recover. Modified work duty can be anything, like a change in your job, performing different tasks, or even reducing your working hours. The second type of employment benefit offered by WCB is for re-employment. This will occur if your injury or illness will totally prevent you from doing your old job. In this case, your case manager will talk to you about training and skills development opportunities. The services that are available are based on the severity of your injury and the impact it had on your ability to return to your old job. Some examples of re-employment support WCB can provide include return to work skills profile, resume development and review, job training, and on-the-job training. Your employer is required by law to cooperate with you during your WCB claim. This is called the duty to cooperate. The duty to cooperate states that both the employer and the worker make reasonable efforts to cooperate in the return to work process. Employers who refuse to cooperate can receive both financial and administrative penalties. For the duty to cooperate to work well, there are separate responsibilities for both the employer and the employee. For the employer, their responsibilities include recording and reporting workplace accidents and injuries, maintaining communication with the worker and WCB Alberta, attending and participating in return to work planning discussions, and allowing the worker time to participate in their treatment and rehabilitation programs. For the employee or the worker, the responsibilities include attending scheduled appointments, maintaining contact with their employer, with WCB, and with their medical professionals. It is also the responsibility of the worker to avoid activities that could prevent or delay their recovery. They have to accept and follow the rules of suitable temporary modified work, and they have to follow all of the posted safety rules and employer policies. Employees also have to return to full pre-accident duties when they are safe and able to do so. If the employee is unable to return to their previous work, they need to talk with WCB to develop and participate in a re-employment program. We have another question. If I am unionized, do I have to go through my union to file a WCB claim? And can my union prevent me from collecting WCB benefits?
So you don't have to go through your union to file WCB. Oftentimes they can assist you with it, but sometimes they might not be able to. It would be good to let your union know that you are filing a WCB because it can affect things at your workplace with your employer. They just are good to be involved in that part of it. If your union is making it so that you can't get WCB benefits, you can reach out to the Alberta Labour Relations Board and file a complaint with them. They would be the ones that would deal with that union issue.
If a worker passes away as a result of a workplace injury or illness in Alberta, WCB provides financial and practical support to their dependents. If your spouse or partner passes away due to a workplace incident, WCB pays ongoing monthly payments based on what they were earning at the time of death, calculated at about 90% of the net income. Again, up to the maximum of about $110,000. In addition to monthly payments, WCB may provide a one-time lump sum death benefit. They will cover reasonable funeral, burial, or cremation expenses, and they will pay for grief counseling and psychological support for the family members of the deceased individual. For a surviving spouse with no children, full benefits are typically paid for an initial period to provide financial stability to that spouse. And after that, WCB may reassess based on the survivor's ability to work. WCB can provide vocational training or education to help the spouse return to the workforce, and benefits will be adjusted depending on what that person is reasonably able to earn. If the surviving spouse is unable to become gainfully employed due to disability or other significant barriers, then WCB payments can continue long-term and are reviewed periodically. There is no strict limit that applies to every case. If there are dependent children, payments are also provided for them. When a spouse and children live in the same household, the spouse will receive the full household benefit, which is meant to support both themselves and the children. If there is no surviving spouse, the children will receive the monthly payments directly. These payments are generally paid until the child turns 18, but they can be extended to age 25 if they are attending school full-time. Overall, WCB support after a workplace death is designed to replace lost income, assist with immediate expenses, and help families adjust to the loss of their loved ones. Some injuries are invisible and aren't so obvious as death or getting sick or hurt. For that reason, WCB accepts confirmed psychological injuries when they are developed as a result of exposure to traumatic events at work. Confirmed psychological injury means that it has been diagnosed by a physician or a psychologist. Some examples of psychological injuries can include things like verbal aggression or threats, name calling, hazing practices, spreading rumors, discrimination, and sexual harassment. First responders, correctional officers, and emergency dispatchers are routinely exposed to traumatic events as part of their normal job expectations. These type of jobs are covered by something called presumptive coverage. This means that, unless there is overwhelming evidence, they will be covered and given the benefit of the doubt that what they witnessed while they were working was life-threatening, very disturbing, or stressful, and can result in psychological symptoms that will require treatment. Now that we know all the ins and outs of workers' compensation, let's talk about how we can submit a report. There are 3 ways you can submit your WCB report. They are online, through the WCB app, and sending in a paper report. If you are okay with technology, we would recommend using the internet or the WCB app, as it is the quickest and most efficient way of making sure you submit all the correct information. Once you have submitted your claim, the Workers' Compensation Board of Alberta will review it and make a decision. We have another question. What criteria do people need to meet to prove a psychological injury was caused by their job? If they have diagnosed mental illness before a workplace incident that makes it worse, can I still get coverage for that injury?
So psychological injuries are tough. They are a harder one to prove. You will need a diagnosis, typically of some sort of PTSD, or a diagnosis from a psychologist, psychiatrist. That's typically a requirement. WCB can have that done for you. That assessment. You're also going to have some interviews within the workplace, typically with coworkers or management, and just a really detailed history of what's happened to show your side of the claim. So again, if it's a chronic psychological injury, documenting all the information leading up to that is really important. If it's one big event, obviously that's going to be something that's a little easier to prove. When you've got a previous mental illness before that, obviously that feeds into things. So having your documentation, getting that diagnosis in place is really important. And just understand that it is going to be a longer process to get approval for that if you have a bit of a history.
After you file your WCB claim, it is important to complete all of the recommendations made by the medical professionals. For example, if your doctor told you you need to do physiotherapy for your hurt back, and then you do not do that physiotherapy, WCB can cancel your claim for something called non-compliance. Lastly, if you do not get approved from WCB, you have 1 year to submit your appeal. Although WRC cannot assist with appeals, if you would like the Workers Resource Center's assistance with the denial of your claim, please contact our office and we can help bridge any gaps or connect you with an organization that can help. If you do need any help with Workers' Compensation Board, or if you are sick or injured at work, please feel free to contact the Workers Resource Center.